Okay, this is it. Welcome, guys, to Polly Podcast episode, if I'm not mistaken, 17. Holy heck. And it's been a minute. I gotta say, it has been a hot minute. I was just looking up on Spotify to see how long it's been since our last episode, where we did a book review on Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse. It was June 2022. Over a year ago. Oh my God. I've been neglecting the Polly podcast, to say the least. And the Pollyverse community at large is furious. They're throwing bricks at the studio as we speak. They're rioting. Say, give us another podcast. God damn it, Torkel. But we're back, okay? Tentatively, we're back. Tentatively, we'll say. We got new stuff going on as well. The background here, this is cool. This is a hand-painted kind of background that I whipped up about a month ago. We got a new secondhand microphone here. This is a handheld one, which is quite exciting. This is obviously for the people watching the video. Some of your audio listeners, I know. We got a new microphone arm as well. We got updates happening in the studio, and that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. It's going to be an update episode on life, on Pollyverse, creative stuff, myself, all things. Just a little quick, hey, how you doing? We're back, hopefully. We're revamping the Polly podcast. All right, we're bringing out some more episodes, tentatively, hopefully. All right. I tend to make promises and then get distracted, but we'll see how we go, you know. Intentions are pure. The intentions are good. So yeah, where have I been? What have I been up to? Okay. Life kind of got in the way, you could say, especially of the Polly podcast in particular. I was writing the blog posts. You remember the blog was always connected to the podcast episodes at pollyverse.com. What happened was I actually got distracted by making a new website as well, because I was using Wix before, because, you know, I'm not savvy to that degree. I'm not a coder or anything like that. So I was using templates and customizing it on Wix. Made a website. It was cool. It was my first go at such a thing. And then I thought, it doesn't have all the features that I want. I want to be able to put more stories on it easily, make it better, you know, revamp it, update it a little bit. So I moved to Squarespace, started doing that. Ran into lots of issues, actually. Lots of issues that took me a while to figure out with that. But the website is working pretty well. It still needs some updates, but it's there. The blog's on there. It's still pollyverse.com, so it's still there. But the blog is no longer connected to the Polly podcast, to put it simply. And that was one of the things that was stopping me from putting out episodes, was actually because I had all these blog posts that I was writing. Some of them were even finished. And I couldn't post them anywhere because I was, you know, migrating the website, which was taking ages, because then the second element came in, the life stuff. Okay, life got in the way. And if you guys know me, which I'm sure a lot of you do, you know that I tend to hyper-focus on something. You know, I get really invested in something. Like when I was writing the horror fiction book for a while there for a competition, I was churning out thousands of words every day. I was hyper-focused, hyper-fixated. I have a tendency to do that. And I did that with life stuff because there was a lot of things new to me that were happening. I ended up buying a house, and this was over a year ago now. And obviously I did, even before that, I was doing like some renovating on my place. I was getting new roommates, all sorts of things. I was moving studios with this setup, the whole internet Polly podcast, Pollyverse setup thing that we got going on here. This is some serious equipment here, guys, okay? Not all of you can see, but we got 2 computer screens. We got lights. We got this background now. We're always improving. We got the microphone and everything, all right? So there was stuff like that going on, the house and everything, the moving the setups. And then also I was spending more time with my partner in another city in Perth. And I was trying to balance the in-between, because obviously I was still working where I am now, and the back and forth between the two cities, I was trying to figure out a balance between those two things, essentially. And it made it tricky because it's a small apartment that we're renting in Perth. And it's only been recently, after a year of being there, that I've properly set up a little like workstation for these internet things and the podcast shenanigans that we get up to. So when I was coming back to this city where I am now, my hometown, I was actually coming back to work, obviously, and I was spending most of my time doing that, working a lot of hours. So then it was hard to do much. I would do some streams from time to time, but I wasn't really thinking about podcast. I was doing productivity streams, to be honest, to build the new website and things like that. So life got in the way. And then more recently, I've actually been continuing that journey of migrating to Perth. I still work in another city, but I also work from home in Perth. And I'm moving more towards the Perth direction of things. And I'm selling my place here, my house here that I bought. And so that's been a new experience for me. Obviously, I'd never bought a house over a year ago. That was my first experience doing that. So that was a lot of learning with the mortgage and everything. And now I'm selling a house for the first time, which is a whole new thing to learn as well. So it's been a lot of stuff for me to fixate on with my brain. I've certainly been doing that. So that's what I've kind of been up to. But like I said, the live streams have always been here, and some of the other social media stuff in the Pollyverse realm, the Instagram, sample text posts and whatnot. And the live streams, actually, if you want to check it out, it's twitch.tv/Pollyverse. There it is. I had to think about it for a second. Twitch.tv/Pollyverse. And we're actually live streaming right now. So if you see a little bubble pop up here with someone's name and some writing, that's someone chatting in the live stream chat. Okay. Live stream chatters, feel free to do your thing, as I said earlier. But yeah, they're going to be on the video as well that you may see on Spotify or YouTube. So if you want to have that live stream experience where you can chat with me like this, thank you, Grumbly Ghost. Hey, there he is. Look at this. It's so beautiful. I love live streaming on Twitch. I got to say, live streaming is a lot of fun. Just to have that direct connection, the direct interaction with the community. It's awesome. So if you want to see the podcasts live, listen to them live and chat, check us out, twitch.tv/Pollyverse. We do a lot of fun stuff over here. Also, what has been happening? All these studio updates, guys. Why am I thinking about the podcast again? Why is it detached from the blog? Stuff like that. Well, I've actually started a new podcast with Grumbly Ghost himself, who was in chat. We started a podcast called It Lives on Tape. It's a horror movie podcast that we've been putting a lot of effort in together. And it's been really, really good, if I'm honest. It's been really fun. We've just recorded our 5th episode. Ayo, Grumbly Ghost, thank you for that. And it's been amazing. We've just done, our 4th or 5th episode. We've got 4 episodes out right now, or 3. I'm getting mixed up. But by the time you see this, we could have any amount of episodes. You never know. But we're in the early days of it, basically. And it's been really good. We've been putting heaps of effort into writing out ideas, bringing movies to the table and concepts. We're basically deep diving into the horror subject and different horror films, making it interesting for you guys. So, for example, we did an episode about The Neon Demon, which is one of my favorite movies ever. It was about the disaster that it was, how it was such a box office flop. It was a financial disaster, but I loved it. So we're talking about that. We did a deep dive presented by Grumbly Ghost himself into the topic of running zombies, basically going through the history of zombie movies in the horror genre and discussing a lot of the classics that are part of that, such as 28 Days Later. And that was an awesome one. And yeah, we've got a few more podcasts coming out as well. So from doing that, you could say that I've caught the podcasting bug once again. I caught it again. That is for sure. And we'll talk more about It Lives on Tape in the future on an episode on Poly Podcast, no doubt. I want to do a podcast episode dedicated to talking about our other podcast. I think that'll be good. But it's been so good. It's been so fun collaborating as well with Grumbly Ghost on it. And I thought something that Grumbly Ghost even said to me the other day about the idea of podcasts I think we're joking around talking about what is the Pollyverse, because so far Pollyverse has been a platform where I put out my writing, particularly on the website, also on Instagram, places like that. I put out the sample text, alternative artwork, Pollyverse artwork, different things like that. Post them all over the place, Facebook, Instagram. We do interesting little poetic shorts on TikTok as well, and on Instagram, and even on YouTube. I also do some videos on YouTube, which are like tier lists and things like that lately. And then we've been doing the community engagement, which is really fun with Twitch, and on Discord, which Discord is my favorite place. It's essentially the Pollyverse Discord, which will be linked as well. It's on our link tree. It's like a think tank of all the creative minds that are, a part of Pollyverse. And that was the whole concept with Pollyverse when it began. It was born out of the collaboration with me and my British friends, such as Luke, when we were writing together. And it was so much fun writing these stories together. And I wanted to continue that. I wanted to create a community for it and call it Pollyverse. And we've been building that. We've been slowly building that over on Discord in particular, and with the live streams. And it's awesome. So that's at the core of Pollyverse. It's a community for creative people. But then I thought also, as a writer, it's kind of hard to do stuff in the online world because I'm kind of terminally online. It's like, how does writing work on the internet in the modern day other than just posting it to a website? And obviously I've been doing readings on YouTube and on TikTok and Instagram and things like that. But what else can I do? And Instagram poetry even as well with the sample text images, like I said. But then I was thinking, I've always been drawn to podcasts. And like I was saying with Grumbly Ghost the other day, there's something about podcasts where I've done podcasts on and off for years now, years. Like back in the day, they were so sketch, like, they were just thrown together, but they were fun and I always loved it. And it's what I consume as well. All day, every day, I'll have the earbuds or the headphones on and I'll be listening to podcasts or audiobooks. Rarely music, to be honest, anymore. Rarely, which is kind of crazy to say that because it used to only be music, but podcasts have really taken over. It's like the nice background noise company of someone's there talking to you throughout your day, I just love it. I love it, basically. And I love doing them as well. And It Lives on Tape reinvigorated that for me, which is amazing. And like I said, me and Grumbly Ghost were talking and we were joking around about the idea of what if Pollyverse could just be a podcasting platform. You know what I mean? It's also the community and everything and the writing and stuff is all behind it. But a good way, and you see this with comedians in particular, how do comedians navigate the online space? Because obviously it was all live shows, particularly before COVID. Now they all live stream because a live stream, you can essentially do live stand-up broadcasted to millions of people. And also they all have podcasts, of course. Everyone knows this. Like comedians probably have the most popular podcasts other than like true crime and stuff like that. So these two formats, they really suit me well, I think, as a writer. And of course, I write a lot of comedy stuff as well. So that aspect too. I like it a lot. And also another thing to throw on top of that, I've been doing some live broadcasts for local basketball competition online, and I go there in person and there's two of us, and I've done a few of these now, and we'll commentate over the basketball and it gets broadcasted online to the websites. It's NBL1 if you're wondering the competition. And that was so good as well. I really love doing that. I love talking about basketball because obviously I've talked about that on the podcast before, but I grew up playing so much basketball. It was awesome to have an outlet for that. And, you know, live commentary over a sport, that's essentially a podcast, you know? Who are we kidding here? Anything can be a podcast. So I was thinking about this podcast idea that me and Grumbly Ghost talked about, and what the idea that exists in my mind now is the abbreviation PPN, Pollyverse Podcast Network. And I just love this thing of maybe what I should be doing is more podcasts instead of trying to do a lot of the... I really struggle to come up with ways to put out my ideas and content out into the world. And podcasts are kind of the perfect format, really, because you can just talk about things and just get your ideas out there. You can just do something. And especially Poly Podcast, where it's such a general concept. It's just about myself, creativity, people of Pollyverse, projects going on. It's whatever I want it to be about. It's any length. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever. I love that. So, Poly Podcast is back, I guess. It's back. Okay? We're saying it. It's back. And also, I've got more ideas for podcasts as well. Okay? Lots of fun ones. One in particular about basketball. I've already got a secret little basketball YouTube channel where I put out like one video, but I've got heaps of other ideas. And I was thinking, I really want to do them as a podcast because it works so much better than a video. Because I was thinking I should do videos for it and like edit them and stuff. I was like, nah, basketball podcast is where it's at. So that's one of the ideas. There's many more. You'll see them as they come out. I'll be posting about them everywhere. Grumbly Ghost says we're back. Thank you, Grumbly Ghost. We are back indeed. And like I said, you guys go check out It Lives on Tape. Because that's part of what invigorated the podcast, the love for podcasts the most, I would say. That project is really something special to me, even though it's still in the early days. And we're having a lot of fun making it. So I appreciate if you guys checked it out. It's on Spotify and everywhere else. All your other good podcasting platforms, YouTube and all that. And that's pretty much the main stuff I wanted to talk about. Hey, Grumbly Ghost says he's loving it too. Thanks, buddy. So much fun. Yeah. It's a lot of fun getting to talk about horror movies with our little community that we're building over there. And I guess another update on my writing then to take us out here for the end of this Poly Podcast episode, the return episode of Poly Podcast. I might just call it that, the return of Poly Podcast, dusting it off. I've been writing. I've also been distracted with writing, if I'm being honest. I've been kind of distracted, like I said, with the real life stuff. So I haven't been writing a hell of a lot. But since we last spoke on Poly Podcast, I have written a lot of short stories, a good handful, quite a decent number of poetry. I haven't made much progress on the books that I was speaking about previously, to be honest. There's still the horror fiction novel in the works. That was a big subject of this podcast. That's still in the works for sure. It's over halfway done now. And I had some revelations recently about it that I may talk about in the future. So I'm getting a renewed energy to sit down. I work on it in chunks of energy. I will go hard and write thousands of words in a month, and then I'll have a break from it for a few months. That's sort of how it is. It's been a journey itself. The book is about a spiritual journey, and it's been a journey writing it, my first book. I plan that to be my first book anyway. But then the other exciting thing that I started working on, which is coming along really well, is because I started writing poetry. That was the first thing I properly wrote. Obviously I wrote lyrics and stuff when I was younger, but poetry was my in into the creative writing world. And I thought, I've got so much poetry at this point. I've just got I don't know if you guys use Google Drive, but I've got Google Docs in Google Drive just full of poems. And I try to organize them, but they're everywhere, you know? And I've got notepads full of poems. And yeah, I try to put them into sections and like genres and stuff like that. I try to organize them all. And I thought, I got to actually sit down and put the effort in to make a collection of poetry. I know I've spoke a bit about that on Polly Podcast before. I was trying to piece together poetry into something. So I've been thinking about this for a while. And I've got something now. I've got something that's worked. I have all the poems there. I've put them all together. And I'm in the process of editing them and adding some stuff to it, some spicy stuff. We'll talk about that as well in another episode. But so that's another book. And I remember the old poetry book that I was talking about was a small one. This is another proper big book. This is like, I don't know how big it's going to end up being. I think a couple hundred pages of poetry. So it's a novel, you know, essentially of poetry. So I'm really excited about that. And it's also, I'll give this as a teaser before we talk about it on another episode, but it's a lot about Pollyverse as well and the creative process and what my brain likes, what it's all about, what Pollyverse means to me, things like that. So yeah, that's what I'll say for now. It's cool. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm obviously going to be working on that for a little while, but it's coming together nicely because all the poems are already there. So that's another one. We got those two things in the writing world. So those are my writing updates. And of course, the website is still in progress. There's some short stories on there, some new ones in particular at pollyverse.com. And also I'll be putting some more up there in the near future because like I said, I've written a handful of short stories too. So expect to see some more stuff on there that I'll announce on all the social medias as well. So yeah, that's all the updates basically on what's been going on. Obviously, there's a million other things that I could talk about. There's a million other ideas here and there that I've had that are ticking away at the background. But these are the solidified concepts that I feel comfortable talking about in this moment. And there'll be plenty more podcast episodes, I'm sure. Because even if we take a break from Polly Podcast, we're always coming back. We're always coming back, okay? This is what we do. This is Pollyverse. We exist within the minds of everyone. Okay, and every now and again we got to ring the doorbell and say, "Hey, we're here." So yeah, guys. I mean, thanks for listening. This has been episode 17. I keep forgetting. Yeah, episode 17. Thanks for having me back. If you're listening, God, I'm gonna have to post this around and see if anyone's excited about it. But yeah. We're shaking off the dust, okay? Polly Podcast is coming back. But yeah, thanks for having me. And see you around on the next episode. Hopefully it won't be too long. Grumbly Ghost said, woo! Thanks. Thanks for tuning in to the live chat as well. And if you guys want to tune in the live chat in the future, we're over at twitch.tv/Pollyverse. Also, check us out in the Discord. If you want to chat in the voice channels as well, you can chat with me live on stream or just hang out. Read about some of the stuff that's going on in the background that I haven't spoken about. There's some of that going on in the Discord too. And like I said, that'll be linked in the link tree. But yeah, that's all for now, guys. So thank you. Thanks for having me. We'll see you next time.